Hi, my name is Aurora. Now I'm going to share with you my incredible story that happened to me. It happened on a Tuesday in late October, a night so ordinary it still unnerves me to think about. I'd been working late at the Willow Creek Animal Clinic, our small Montana town's only veterinary office, stitching up a collie that had tangled with a barbed wire fence. The dog's name was Ranger, and his owner, Mrs. Harlow, had wept into her handkerchief while I numbed the gashes. "He's my husband's dog," she'd said, though everyone in town knew her husband had died 2 winters back. "Keeps me company," I'd reassured her, my hands steady despite the hour. But when the clock hit 9 p.m., the fluorescent lights overhead began to hum like angry wasps. My assistant, Jake, had clocked out early, leaving me alone with the sterile scent of antiseptic and the slow drip of an IV bag. By the time I locked up, the sky was a bruise of indigo, the air crisp with the scent of pine and distant wood smoke. My breath fogged as I climbed into my rusted Ford pickup, its seats cracked from a decade of Montana summers. The engine coughed twice before roaring to life, and I flicked on the radio. A static-riddled country station playing a twangy ballad about lost love. The road home was a serpentine stretch of gravel flanked by skeletal pines, their shadows clawing at the headlights. I remember rolling down the window to taste the cold, the wind whipping my hair into a frenzy. The first oddity was the silence. At 10:37 p.m., I checked the clock. The radio died mid-chorus. Not a flicker of static, just gone, as if unplugged. Then the dashboard lights dimmed, and the engine sputtered like a dying animal. I coasted to the shoulder, muttering curses about the truck's unreliable wiring. But when I opened the door to pop the hood, the world outside felt wrong. No crickets, no breeze. Even the stars seemed muted, their usual diamond glitter smothered behind a haze I couldn't name. That's when I saw the light. It hovered above the tree line to my left, a pulsing blue-white sphere, no bigger than a dime at arm's length. At first, I thought it was a drone, maybe some tech-obsessed rancher's toy. But as I squinted, it moved. Not like machinery, like liquid, rippling and reshaping itself as it drifted closer. My throat tightened. I fumbled for my phone, but the screen was black, dead as the radio. The light expanded, swelling until it engulfed the road ahead. I stumbled back, slamming the truck door, but the glow seeped through the glass, cold and weightless, like being submerged in fluorescent water. A high-pitched whine filled my skull, vibrating my teeth. Then, nothing. I woke on a surface that wasn't quite a table. Smooth, cool, and slightly yielding, like marble wrapped in silk. My body felt anchored, not by restraints, but by a pressure in the air, thick as syrup. Panic surged, but when I tried to scream, my lungs wouldn't fill. The room, if it was a room, had no walls, no ceiling. Just endless white, glowing from everywhere and nowhere. They stood around me. 3 figures, tall and slender, their skin the grayish hue of a storm cloud. Their eyes were what froze me. Enormous, obsidian-black, but not lifeless. They swirled like oil on water, and when they tilted their heads, I felt seen. Not just my body, but my thoughts, my memories. A sensation of cold fingers sifting through my mind. "Don't," I croaked, surprised I could speak. One of them reached toward me, its hand elongated, 4 fingers tapering into tips that shimmered like mercury. I braced for pain, but the touch was almost gentle, a brush against my temple. Images exploded behind my eyes. A star map, a planet ringed in violet ice, a city of spiraling towers. Then, a searing ache in my left arm. I twisted to see a needle-like device hovering above my bicep, drawing a thread of blood into a vial. The tallest being made a sound, a chime, low and resonant, and the pain vanished. "Why are you doing this?" My voice shook. They didn't answer, but the smallest one tilted its head, those swirling eyes narrowing. For a heartbeat, I felt sorrow, a deep, ancient grief radiating from it like heat. Then the room brightened, the light dissolving into blinding radiance. And I was back in my truck, The engine roared to life, radio blaring a pop song from 2 hours earlier. My arm throbbed. Rolling up my sleeve, I found a raised, circular scar, the skin around it mottled with faint blue streaks. I vomited onto the roadside, trembling too hard to drive. When I finally stumbled into my cabin, the clock read 1:14 a.m., 3 hours unaccounted for. I scrubbed my skin raw in the shower, but the scar remained. Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those oil-slick eyes, felt the ghost of that needle. At dawn, I called the clinic, claiming food poisoning. "Take the week, doctor," Patel said, her voice clipped. "We've got the Thompsons calving to manage anyway." But by midday, the headaches began, sharp electric pulses behind my temples. I rifled through my medicine cabinet, gulping aspirin, but the pain only sharpened. Then the nightmares. Fragments of that white room, the star map, and a voice that wasn't a voice, hissing like radio static. Prepare. A week later, the town's annual Harvest Festival was in full swing. Pumpkin stalls lined Main Street, and kids darted between hay bales, their laughter echoing under strings of orange lights. I'd avoided crowds since the abduction, but my best friend Lena dragged me out. "You look like hell," she said, thrusting a cider into my hands. "Whatever's eating you, let it go." I tried. I laughed at Mayor Higgins's corny jokes and even let Lena talk me into a hayride. But as dusk fell, I noticed them. Shadows lingering at the edge of the field, tall and too still. My breath hitched. The tallest figure tilted its head, a movement I'd recognize anywhere. "You okay?" Lena frowned, following my gaze. The shadows vanished. "Just dizzy," I lied. That night, I found footprints outside my cabin. Not animal, not human. Three-toed with a faint shimmer in the dirt, like crushed glass. They came again on November 12th. I was chopping wood when the air turned gelid, the bird song cutting off mid-note. The axe slipped from my hands as the light appeared. Smaller this time, a sickly green. It didn't engulf me. It pulled like a fishhook in my ribs. The room was different. Darker, with walls that pulsed like living tissue. The same three beings stood beside a hexagonal tank filled with viscous fluid. Inside floated things. Organs? Number eyes. Dozens of them, irises swirling like their own. The smallest alien pressed a hand to the tank. The eyes snapped open, locking onto me. A voice, if you could call it that, vibrated through the air. "You are marked. The Convergence nears." "What Convergence?" I choked out. The tallest alien raised its hand. The star map flooded my mind again, but now I understood. The violet planet. The spiraling city. And Earth, circled in red light. A countdown. I started carrying a knife. Sleeping with the lights on. The town noticed. Mrs. Harlow crossed the street when she saw me. Dr. Patel left concerned voicemails. Even Lena's texts grew sparse. "Call me when you're ready to talk." But the worst was the noise. A high-pitched frequency only I could hear, pulsing in time with my scar. It crescendoed one night as I stared at the sky. The stars weren't silent anymore. They shrieked. The third abduction was the longest. They showed me everything. Their dying world, the Convergence, a migration to Earth, a merging of species. My scar wasn't a mark. It was a receptor. "You're a bridge," the static voice hissed. I screamed, I fought. But when they returned me, I knew two truths. They weren't lying. They needed me alive. It's June. The scar is like a beacon on my skin. The star map is seared into my mind, and I don't know what to do next. The doctors can't explain the scar. They say it's just a cut scar.